It can be, I will identify with my pain more than I will identify with my possibility.
Yeah, well, that's what most of us do. We cry for help and then identify and put our attention on the problem instead of the attention on what we're asking for. That's the human story, isn't it? But okay, so you also
story.
Okay.
I said it's a boring story.
It's a boring story. We're changing the story, honey.
We have to change the story.
So, I remember last time you said, so you saw these balls of light hanging out in the field, in the energy field, and not embodied as you saw them through your ability to see. And then you said you saw like a monk or the Dalai Lama, and you saw that which was outside of most people embodied. And that's when you started to think, oh, it's not supposed to be hanging out there. It's supposed to be, you're like, embodied.
Yes, when I had the privilege and the great, rare honor of seeing His Holiness the Dalai Lama teaching. Yeah. And when he was just hanging out and, telling people he needed things and getting ready and stuff, his golden light was floating around up here. And then when he started to teach, it became fully embodied in his pelvis, and he was glowing this amazing light, and it radiated out to the hearts of 7,000, 8,000 people who were listening to him teach. And so I thought to myself, if he can do it, we can do it. And of course we can make this happen because it's just light. So how do I get it in here? So I worked and worked and worked.
You got to accentuate the positive. Wow, I feel good. A little bit of feel good goes a long way.
You're listening to Karen Swain, teacher of deliberate creation, accentuating the positive, showing you a way to a better life.
Accentuating the positive, it's not just fad, it's sanity. Who in their right mind would accentuate anything else?
If you feel like that's what you want to do.
Hi guys, welcome to another show on Accentuate the Positive Media with Karen Swain. And just a little note at the beginning of this, I'm chatting with Desda Zuckerman today about her amazing energetic work and mapping the human energy structure, and it's amazing. So I just wanted to tell you that she's putting on some online courses, and I have an affiliate link if you'd like to do her courses and support the show and support my work as well. When you click on the courses using my affiliate link, I get a kickback, and that supports me in the work I do, bringing these shows to you, showcasing all these authors and teachers and people with extraordinary transcendent experiences. And, I use the show as a tool to teach people because I'm a teacher. And I put guests on the show because to teach you for no cost, and I don't get paid for it, so that we can all expand our human potential and be more deliberate in being the genius creators of our reality and this world, bringing in a new world, a new earth, and spreading more love and light into this world. So if you are fascinated with Desda today, as I am, I think she's amazing, hit that affiliate link and do her courses through my link, and I get a bit of a kickback. Thanks again for watching. Hello and welcome to another show, Accentuating the Positive with Karen Swain. So wonderful to be with you again. I have another beautiful, delicious master healer to reintroduce you to today, Desda Zuckerman, who has been on the show back in August 2017. We had a gorgeous conversation about your life, Desda, your childhood. Welcome. Let me welcome you before I start yakking any further. Welcome to the show. Again.
Thank you, Karen, and hello, Australia. It's so wonderful to be back with you, dear. You have such a lovely presence, and it's great to be here.
Oh, thank you. It's funny you say hello, Australia, but most of the people that listen to my shows are in the United States.
Hello, US, then.
I know. When I look at the on YouTube anyway, because they've got the statistics, it is pretty much 90% from the US, interestingly.
Wow.
Yeah. But I don't know about the audio podcasts. But anyway, as I was saying before, we had a beautiful conversation back in August 2017 about your life, your childhood growing up. And I rewatched it today to remind myself of what we spoke about. And I found myself laughing. And The thing that I was saying to Desda before was when I look at myself, like even like about a year and a half ago, I see all my insecurities like right there on the camera. And I'm like, oh, damn, because, you know, as you do this work, you just get more and more comfortable with being with yourself. You know, when I put people on the show for the first time, they always come back to me and say, oh, it's terrible because they're so critical of themselves. You know how it is. And and then when you watch yourself every week or listen to yourself every week, you get very comfortable with yourself, just like everybody else is comfortable with you. But it takes some time, don't you find, Desda?
I do. And I've been doing this long enough now where, you know, it's warts and all, here I am, you know, it's kind of, and I find that the more, you know, I am present with what's actually happening, the less stressed out I feel or uptight about what's going to come out of my mouth. I just trust that it's all going to open up just the way it needs to, like a beautiful flower.
Absolutely, and it always does. I have to say, it always does. But as I watched myself a year and a half ago, you know, I was hiding behind my fringe. I was hiding behind my glasses because I never felt comfortable in front of the camera. But my desire to expand the message, like what we're going to talk about today, to expand people's knowledge, was greater than my vanity. And so I had to overcome all that. But anyway, let me read your bio, because it's such a beautiful bio. Okay, here we go. Desda has made a life study of the subtle energies surrounding all living things. What began as a personal quest for understanding blossomed into a comprehensive mapping of human energy anatomy and its precise application. This has been distilled into conscious intelligence, an international healing modality, which we're going to talk about. For the past 30 years, she has quietly taught classes, trained apprentices, and led healing sessions with healers, seekers, and students of human potential, both in person and now online, which we're also going to talk about, which is very exciting, because when I spoke to you, you know, in 2017, you were not online, and I did ask you, can you do this online? And you said, oh, I don't know about that. So you can, which is great.
Yeah. Turns out
you can. Yeah, it's all time and space. Anyway, born and intuitive with extraordinary clairvoyant, clairsentient, and clairaudient abilities, which we chatted about again back in 2017, Desda has made an in-depth study of the subtle energies she has witnessed around all living things. Since you were a child, you've been witnessing that. Desda spent the better part of her life working to understand and use her abilities, which led her to work in the field of psychic awareness and research, where she observed and mapped human spiritual or energy anatomy. She was well known in California as a trance medium and professional psychic for 17 years until she retreated to refocus her energies and concentrate on inner growth in 1986. She also pursued a separate career as a professional singer alongside her husband, Bob, in the San Francisco Bay Area from the late 60s until retiring from music in 1998. I'm sorry, I'm aging you here with all these dates.
All right, I earned it.
Yeah, you've been here for a little while. It's fantastic. A master dowser, she became one of the top space clearers and earth workers in the world before redirecting her attentions to work exclusively with the health and well-being of people and their human energy structures. Desda work is also to support others in the development of their own extrasensory skills and abilities. Very exciting. Your work is really simply beautiful. I think last time you were on the show, we spoke about energy healing and we spoke about Barbara Brennan's Hands of Light. And I always remember you saying, I take it so much further than she did, you know, like she was an introduction to it and you go so much further. So what's been happening since 2017, since our last conversation? Obviously you're online. How's this work been expanding?
Well, it's been expanding tremendously, actually. I now have trained another 30 or so practitioners of my work And so they're out there in the world doing healings based on the work that I've developed, which is stunning. Conscious intelligence, this brand new modality that's just been unleashed on the world in the last, 15 or 20 years. And Your Sacred Anatomy, my book, which looks like that, has been very successful. It's continued to sell on Amazon. And, really with very little promotion, it's sold into thousands and thousands of copies. So that's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of writing another book. I'm writing my second book, and I'm doing that. So that always requires attention and time and dedication. But more than anything, making the shift to an online platform and format, I think that's really one of the biggest things I've done, because, I've taught in person, one-on-one, you and me, let's learn this, for a very long time. And I do sessions, of course, and I've done sessions online for years, but taking the teaching online was a whole different thing. So I started last year doing a class with a woman named Shiloh Sophia, who's an extraordinary artist. And we did a class together called Illuminate, which was about making a map of your own energetic greater mind, and what that looked like for people was just a wonderful creative exploration. So that was sort of my first step out, and I had energetic exercises that went with that, and anatomy that went with that, and a way that I perceive the greater mind and use the greater mind that went with that. And then Shiloh brought all this fascinating stuff about art and creativity and intentionality. So that was exciting. And then I went from that to my first Shift class. And the Shift Network is an interesting organization that sponsors teachers worldwide. And they have this wonderful platform that brings educators and people that are insightful, change makers, really people who hold sort of the creative frequency of healing, human awareness, and consciousness, and they bring that information out, and I was asked to teach for them. So my first class was called Beyond Your Energy Body, and it was an introduction to the subtle anatomy, and it had this incredible exploration and journey into understanding the 4 aspects of the authentic self, which is my version of the higher self. So I actually see the location of this energetic, which is about 25 feet above your head. And there are like golden balls of light that float there above your head, right at your core. And those energies have beingness. And so there are 4 meditations that I did relating to each of those 4, and then one for the whole thing called Meet Your Board of Directors. And
I love it.
And we basically got into a relationship and a rapport with these 4 aspects of the authentic self. So there was like a way, in a concrete, real way, real reality, where people could have a conversation with their highest and best self, and not just with the egoic quantification of the personality, but actually with this spiritual nature. And so I really took them on a journey, a 7-week journey. Yeah. And so that class is actually still available on the Shift Network, called Beyond Your Energy Body. But my new class, the one I'm totally excited about, is called Reclaiming Your Empathic Power.
Oh, so this is something I wanted to talk about, because I was thinking about, what are we going to talk about today, apart from all your courses? And I'm like, the empaths, they're always so suffering so much, which is what we touched on that last time. There's so much suffering around being an empath. Some just don't go outside anymore. I know some that just drug themselves because they just don't want to feel, because they're so they're so tortured by feeling everything. But it's so important to teach them how to be deliberate with that. But anyway, great. So tell us more about the course.
Yeah. So every empathic person has a greater issue, a big issue that is paramount for them.
Right.
And it usually shows up in one area. It shows up in relationships, in health and well-being, or it shows up in work and, your soul's purpose. So it's one of those three areas where you find there's chaos and confusion and lack of focus, and where you want to bring it into focus, but you just can't no matter what you do. So what I suggested we do for the empathic community was to essentially create a 7-week healing journey that would take them into 3 different systems of the sacred anatomy and heal this one big issue that keeps the empath from being able to function at their peak.
Beautiful.
So we're working with the 3 systems. One is called Bones of Light. So it's the skeletal structure, the support system. So you can imagine if your support system somehow not working well, you would be affected in your daily life, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So the next system we'll work with is the layers, and the layers have to do with the organs of the sacred anatomy. So it's how well your internal dynamic is working together, and it really tells the story of your life's journey. And so these layers have a way that they hold a thing called the mental construct. And the mental construct that is holding this greater issue captive and kind of forcing it to somehow demand the empath be a particular way. And now most empaths end up hiding out. They actually end up like under sort of, I have this thing here, the empath struggle. They are living unhidden in the light. They have great difficulty listening to their own inner knowledge, and they cannot accept their true nature as a sensitive being. And that's what empaths struggle with. They struggle with it their whole lives, and it kills some of them.
Absolutely, so absolutely. So I'm
right?
I'm thinking about a girlfriend who I adore, who was a heroin addict for 35 years and very judged and vilified by her family, her life. But she is one of these people. So quite a few years ago, about 8 years ago, I said to her, I think I can help you. And I didn't think, because I went to school with her, right? So I didn't think that she would see me as somebody who could help her, because I was her schoolmate. So she saw me not as the healer or teacher, but as the mate that we used to get in trouble at school, right?
Sure.
And then she did reach out to me, and she asked me a question. Are you surprised that all this stuff that you talk about I'm sort of on board with? And I said, no, I'm not surprised at all, because I just saw her like I'd never seen her before, because I stopped seeing her as the friend who had become the heroin addict, and I started seeing her as this unbelievably empathic, sensitive human being who had built up walls, and when she couldn't use her personality to build up walls, she just used drugs to just numb herself out of life. And
I think mental institutions are filled with sensitive empaths, intuitives, psychics, and so are prisons. Many people in these drug rehabilitation facilities, what they need more than anything is to learn how to listen to their own inner truth without feeling like they have to somehow suppress it and make it go away, that's somehow not okay. So looking at these 3 different parts of the sacred anatomy, first, the bones of light, secondly, the layers, and then thirdly, the blended energy system, which is in fact the chakra system. But in my system, instead of there being 7 chakras or 8 chakras, there are 13.
Right.
And they stretch from way above us, 20 feet above us, to 20 feet below us.
Yeah.
So it's a very big cardiovascular system.
Cardiovascular energy system. I love that, because it's all as above, so below. It's all mirrored. Everything is mirrored, isn't it? Like I went into a cave and I looked up and I felt like I was inside the gastrointestinal system, because it just looks like the inside of the gastrointestinal. So everything is mirrored, both physically and subtly. It's all just a mirroring, like what do you call that thing where that pattern just repeats
The
itself.
hologram.
Like a hologram. Yeah, and something that you
Correct.
said before gave me an image which was beautiful. You said that, like it's contained within the mental body, like the mental body is directly affecting the different systems of the subtle energy, which is showing up, which is manifesting as physical. So the pillars of light, which probably shows up in your bones, and then the organs, like the mental, it holds it all. So what's going on in the mental body is sort of filtering down into the subtle energy structures and then manifesting in the physical body, right? So,
well, the way I language that, the way I talk about it, is actually by defining what the layers are.
Right.
So the layers are probably most commonly known as the bodies. People call it the emotional body, the mental body. And I say there's only one body.
Right.
So there's only one totality, that we are one thing. And so I call it the layers, because to me that makes more sense. So there's the bio layer, the physical body, then the emotional, which is right next to it. And then next to that is the primal layer, which holds things like legacy, lineage, DNA, and instinctual responses. And then beyond that is the mental layer. So that's something that some people call the mental body. But beyond that, there's the cognitive layer. And the cognitive layer is the brain for the sacred anatomy. Then there's the spiritual layer, which has portals into 6 different realms of spiritual truth. And then there's the etheric layer, which is this large layer that is actually like an Akashic record, a mini Akashic record that takes my whole soul's journey and records it there. And then there's the soul layer, which holds, as the rainbow body does, holds all of our energy and the vital individuated force that is created from the sacred anatomy itself. So we have a regenerating, self-perpetuating, and recreating system that's always filled with energy and dynamism.
Whew, we are complicated beings. I'm just thinking words are such a poor way to communicate, really, because everyone uses different words. When you're talking about this stuff, like I once read about the etheric body being that, you say it's huge, and someone I read years ago, I can't remember who, talked about it being that the closest layer of your energy field. And what about, Eckhart Tolle talks about the pain body. Like, what's that?
Yeah, well, I don't include that concept in my work.
Right. Okay.
I actually don't believe that there is a location where pain lives.
Right.
I think that pain is a total event. And pain happens primarily in the physical body, and primarily in the electromagnetic field around the physical body, that is a reflective field that's created out of our reactivity. And so those parts of you die, and pain dies. Pain doesn't continue on from a life before. You may have lessons or trauma that will be held, stories that are contained, but physical pain actually dies with the physical body. So I don't give it the distinction of a pain body.
A pain body. I think he talks more about it being an emotional pain body. But let's go back to what you just said. Pain doesn't continue on with you the next life, and I agree with that. Because a lot of people talk about this karma thing, and Michael Tamura. Do you know Michael Tamura? Beautiful spiritual teacher.
I don't know him. No, so many people I don't know. It's a shame.
Yeah, US guy. I was just thinking when you're talking about the Shift Network, I should tell him about the Shift Network. Anyway, I'm getting off track. We were speaking about karma. He's such a beautiful teacher. And he was saying, it's not what happens to you that is your karma. It's how you deal with it.
Right.
So we might have an event that happened, a bad relationship, and then we might set up another situation in another life because we want to deal with it differently. So it's not like we take our pain with us, but we take the challenge with us, like, I could have done that better. Let's do that again. Let's, like Groundhog Day. Let's do that again in the next life and see how I deal with it better. So, yeah.
A lot of times I see with karma, I see almost waves of karma that go through a lifetime, where a particular issue will be up for removal and then it'll recede and then it'll come up again. And the same emotional content will be there. There might be different people, there might be a different situation, but the same emotions, anger, fear, and upset of some kind will be there when the karma is up for removal or up for release, when it's there sort of just laying itself before you and saying, fix me, take me out, let me go, I'm done. And it's our egoic need to kind of be at the effect of the trauma, whatever we perceive it to be, where we hang on to the lesson, the karma, and then we drag it like an old dirty blanket through our life. And it isn't until we lay it down that we look back and go, well, that wasn't all that important, was it?
Oh my God, Desda, that is so true. That is so true. And something, in hindsight, something as you get older, you really see in your life, these waves. It's like, you think that you've dealt with the situation, it's over, it's finished and done, dusted, right, finished, and then it comes back up again. It's like, oh my God, you again. And
yeah, I thought I did that.
I thought I did that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not so much.
And not so much. How do I respond to this differently? Like, how can I face you and not be worried or upset or react angrily? Like, how can I respond differently to you again? And there just comes a time when that's done. It is, and it doesn't arise again. That's what I found in my life anyway. But there are some things that arise that do shock me when you think you've sorted most of it out, back it comes again.
Right. Well, I mean, the good news about that is that if it isn't complete, it will come back around.
It'll come back around. Absolutely.
And so, the opportunity will always be there to fully release and resolve and become renewed in the context of living.
Yeah. To fully release and resolve and become renewed in the context of living. And to me, that just speaks about being more strongly, not the best word, connected to your divine essence, just more in relationship with your knowing that no matter what happens, it's all perfect. It's all there for you. It's not here to torture you. It's there to teach you about how, it's there to show you about how strongly connected you are to the love within, not expecting it to come from outside, from a person or the money or even the health of the body. Can you stay connected to that ecstatic, blissful, beautiful energy that is you?
Yeah, I think that's the thing that people struggle with the most is, finding their true identity and then somehow or another capturing it long enough so that they can then begin to develop into that person in a much fuller way.
Yeah.
We're kind of prisoners of our childhood traumas and events and the circumstances of our lives, and we can get caught in the mundane and the difficult and the negativity of that, and we can get weighed down, and we can get caught up in it and find that our lives don't have nearly the meaning we thought they did.
Yeah.
But if you can let yourself rise above the difficulty just long enough to see the possibility of hope, just long enough to see the potential of what might be, just maybe could be, then you have a way out.
Absolutely. I had my niece living with me. Was it last year or the year before? Oh, I don't know, time. And we were watching that silly show, Married at First Sight. Have you ever watched it?
Oh, I think I watched it once. Yes.
Okay. So I didn't watch it this year because she wasn't with me. And then I don't know, it came across my path. So I started watching it again, like, okay, curiosity got, and I'm watching all these people trying to have a relationship, but what they're having a relationship is what you spoke about, is their past. They're not having a relationship with the person in front of them. They're having a relationship with, I was abandoned as a child. They hurt me. I'm not safe. They're having a relationship with these beliefs, and it's playing. And it's so amazing to watch these shows of people, you know, in these real life, they're not actors, just playing out their subconscious beliefs. It's not actually what's happening. Like, I saw these women screaming. There was a guy that was an Indian meditator, and he was with this woman that just sabotaged the relationship. How you can sabotage a relationship with someone who's so unbelievably peaceful. But she found a way, because she has this screaming inside her, I'm not lovable. I'm not worthy of love. That's when I look at her, that's all I see is this screaming. She's a funny girl. Like, she's got, this is the Australian version. She's got a great personality, but all that is a shield, like a shield, a guard, you know, guarding her heart that's just going to be hurt. It doesn't matter who's going to come into her life, she's going to be hurt. So she's going to, and it's just fascinating to watch this. I'm sure people see this in people around them. You don't have to watch television to see it. You see it everywhere, right?
Just walking down the street.
Just walking down the street, yeah. So let's get practical. What can we give people to, you know, to unguard their heart? That people that have a guarded heart, say, that feel like they're going to get hurt or they're not worthy of love. What can you? And maybe they're doing that by picking fights with people that love them. I remember as a young girl having that realization that I push everyone away that wants to love me because I don't feel worthy of love. And and it's not, you know, and then I make them wrong about how they've hurt me. It was a big realization. What can you say?
Yeah, but you can have a realization like that and it can go absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
It isn't about the aha moment. It's about the everyday moment.
Yeah.
It's about how you live your life, not how you know, have big revelations, right? That,
yeah.
I mean, we love those and we wish they could happen all the time. But generally speaking, we don't get revelations every friggin' minute. You know, we get them here, scattered shot here and there. And what we do have every moment is we do have this tremendous experience of being now, present, here.
Yeah.
And so I guess a person like that, I would say, let's just try to breathe and be present in the moment. People would say, well, how do you do that? And so I actually have an exercise that I show people to do to become present. Would you like me to show you that?
Let's do it.
Yeah? Okay. So what I'm going to have you do is actually talk to your sacred anatomy, which is all around you in this great big bubble. And what you're going to do is you're going to put your hands above your head. I'll scoot down so you can see my hands up above my head. Oh. Put my hands above my head. And then I'm going to say, beloved presence, please come to my hands. And I'm going to hold them there. And I'm just going to wait until my presence comes to my hands. And when I can feel it coming to my hands, I say, hello, beloved presence. Thank you for being here with me. So you can go ahead and say that out loud. Beloved presence.
I muted myself. Hello, beloved presence. Thank you for being here with me.
Beloved presence, I appreciate everything you've always done for me.
Beloved presence, I appreciate everything you've always done for me.
I know you are my essence.
I know you are my essence.
And that you are my spirit.
And that you are my spirit.
I want to invite you right in this moment to come into my physical body.
I want to invite you right in this moment to come into my physical body.
Beloved presence, please come into my head.
Beloved presence, please come into my head.
And watch as it comes down to your head. Move your hands down to your head. And then feel your presence literally expanding your head. It's going to feel like it's pushing up against your skull, like it's moving backwards and forwards, left, right, up and down. Then put your hands on your head and say out loud, I think this is a good idea.
I think this is a good idea.
Beloved presence, please come into my throat, and then urge it to come down to your throat.
Beloved presence, please come into my throat.
And one thing you'll find about your presence coming into your throat is that your vocal cords relax. So you put one hand here and one hand there, front and back of your throat and your neck, and say, my name is, and then of course I would say Desda. Go ahead.
My name is Karen.
And then say it again. My name is Desda.
My name is Karen.
I love this part. Desda, 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 Desda.
Karen, 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 Karen.
Breathe in. Beloved presence, please come into my chest.
Beloved presence, please come into my chest.
And then feel your chest filling with your presence, your essence. Feel it going to the back of your ribs and to the front by your sternum, into your heart, into your lungs. And put your hands on your chest and say, I love my presence.
I love my presence.
I love my spirit.
I love my spirit.
I love, love, love my essence.
I love, love, love my essence.
Beloved presence, please come into my solar plexus. Then you move it down to your solar plexus. Please come into my solar plexus.
Beloved presence, please come into my solar plexus.
And then putting one hand at the front of your solar plexus and one at the back. Say, I'm happy to be present.
I'm happy to be present.
And then I always say, tell your face you're happy and smile. I'm happy to be present.
I'm happy to be present.
Beloved presence, please come into my pelvis.
Beloved presence, please come into my pelvis.
Feel your presence actually dropping into your pelvis and down into your hip sockets and all the way back to the pelvic bones, and really filling the bowl of your pelvis, because this is your offering bowl. This is what you're bringing to the world. This is your gift right here. Your presence is your gift. And so put your hands on your belly, down at your gut, below your belly button, and say, I am present.
I am present.
Breathing in, feel your presence filling every part of your legs and your arms, feeling it dripping down from your shoulders and your hips, and go ahead and move a little bit. Feel your presence moving all the way through, down to your elbows and your knees and your forearms and your calves, to your ankles and your wrists, your fingers and your toes, your hands and feet. Presence just radiating through your whole body. And then say, with your hands on your pelvis, I am fully present.
I am fully present.
And so I would say to that young lady in your favorite show, I would say, young lady, do this exercise whenever you don't feel like you're there. Whenever you feel like you've vanished into your fears, into your inequity, into your difficulty and pain. Become present. Because when you are present and your essence is embodied, it's very difficult to go into self-pity or to go into the great violin solo of the tragedy of your life. Instead, you begin to feel joyous and like life is not just worth living, but truly an adventure.
Beautiful. That is so beautiful, Desda. That is just, I'm thinking I'm doing a bit of a talk on Saturday at Love Fest. And I'm thinking I might just do this with them, and I'll credit you, tell them all about you and your work, because that's a beautiful exercise, isn't it?
Well, it's in my book.
It's in your book.
Called. It's in your Sacred Anatomy, and I use it in every single class that I do. I just use it all the time.
Beautiful, because I know that we spoke about before how you had been seeing people and you saw this golden light outside of their body. Mostly, it's mostly what you saw when you viewed people, right? As you viewed them clairvoyantly.
And I also see with my eyes.
Oh, right. Okay, cool.
I actually see these 4 little balls hovering, and then I see this other light that just kind of wanders around, and I think sometimes it gets stuck on the unicorn horn, kind of about right here. It just gets stuck there, and it's kind of like, are you gonna let me in? It took me a long time to realize, oh my God, that's the presence, that's the essence, that's the spirit. And you know what? We don't have initiations in our culture that are about bringing the spirit into the body, do we? I mean, we just don't celebrate it. We just kind of go, well, okay, you're born. Here's your name. Here's your birth certificate. Go.
Okay, so we're born. Here's your name. Here's your birth certificate. And then our presence. So our spirit, our soul, I don't know, again, words. People are like, what's the difference between spirit and soul? So loving presence enters the body at some point during either conception or the formulation of the human body, or sometimes even after the body pops out, it enters. And then when does it leave? I mean, when is it? How is it hovering above us and not inside? Like, what's going on there?
We haven't invited it in.
So
I know that sounds wacky, but the Sacred Anatomy is so polite. It literally will wait until you say, please enter the body. And then when you say that, you felt just now, it came in. And there it is. And you're acting from this place of power. You're acting from your pelvis. You're not acting from all this busyness here. You're actually acting from a very embodied and present place. And that requires the invitation. So this is something that people in our culture are just beginning to understand, that the spirit, which is this essential energy, this essence or presence, as you might call it, is not embodied. We may be physically embodied, and our energetic structure may be aligned with the physicality, but until we embody spirit, till we invite spirit in, the soul structure, which is all around us, isn't switched on.
Okay.
So we don't have a relationship with it. We're kind of at the effect of our egoic nature and our fear and our pain and our struggle and la 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 la.
Yeah. I'm just thinking a lot. As I do. So if we don't invite it in, okay, so we come into this dense environment to experience contrast and polarity, and then when we hit the trauma or have the sledgehammer moment, wake up call, or have the spiritual awakening, then there is a cry, or we have the relationship drama or the illness, then there is a cry for more, like, is this all there is? And in that cry, that is a sort of invitation, isn't it? Like,
it can be. It can very much be. Or it can also be a roadblock. It can be, I will identify with my pain more than I will identify with my possibility.
Yeah. Well, that's what most of us do. We cry for help and then identify and put our attention on the problem instead of the attention on what we're asking for. That's the human story, isn't it? But okay, so you also
story.
Okay.
I said it's a boring story.
It's a boring story. We're changing the story, honey.
We have to change the story.
So, I remember last time you said, so you saw these balls of light hanging out in the field, in the energy field, and not embodied as you saw them through your ability to see. And then you said you saw like a monk or the Dalai Lama, and you saw that which was outside of most people, embodied. And that's when you started to think, oh, it's not supposed to be hanging out there. It's supposed to be, you're like,
Yes.
embodied.
Yes, when I had the privilege and the great, rare honor of seeing His Holiness the Dalai Lama teaching.
Yeah.
And when he was just hanging out and, telling people he needed things and getting ready and stuff, his golden light was floating around up here. And then when he started to teach, it became fully embodied in his pelvis, and he was glowing this amazing light, and it radiated out to the hearts of 7,000, 8,000 people who were listening to him teach. And so I thought to myself, if he can do it, we can do it. And of course we can make this happen because it's just light. So how do I get it in here? So I worked on how do I get that in here? And this is the way I figured out how to do it. And I'll be darned if it doesn't work for people who are not particularly enlightened, or I've done it at the University of California Medical Center with a bunch of medical students, and boy, they could bring that presence right into their pelvis. And I've done it with all these wonderful new age hippies in Northern California. They can do it, And then I've done it online with people all over the world, and they can do it too. So it isn't where you're from or what your education level is or money. It is literally, are you willing?
It follows that great saying, ask and it is given.
There you go.
There you go.
But you really got to remember the asking part.
The asking part, the invitation,
I think we really forget about that in our culture. We think, well, I paid my money. Should I get it? No.
So you mean we paid our money by being born? I think that we're born into the contrast. I think we were born into the forgetting so that we can experience the forgetting. And in the experiencing of the forgetting or the contrast or the polarity, then we give birth to the invitation. Then we give birth to the request. Yeah, to the desire to be more connected, to be more enlightened, to be more psychic, to be connected to my spirit guides. Okay, so something that you said at the beginning had me pose this question, because I get it a lot from people. They're always like, how do I hear my spirit guides? I don't. And what I find when I'm teaching people is that they're hearing them, but they're just not knowing that what they're hearing is guidance and not their mind making up stuff or imagination. Right. Yeah.
Right.
So
we live in black and white reality, which of course is ridiculous. You can't live in black and white.
Says us. I had the color behind me today because I knew you've got that beautiful mandala picture behind you with all your color, and I'm thinking she's going to have color. I'm going to have color. Anyway, it's not black and white today. So
right.
For people wanting to hear their guidance, their inner guidance, whether it comes from that loving presence or some galactic, future life or some dead grandma or whatever. So that would help them, like doing that exercise would help them.
Yeah. It helps everything. It helps everything. Absolutely everything. To become present, really there in your body. And then when you are present, allowing yourself to awaken to the potential that just maybe you're getting some guidance. Just maybe there's an angel standing at your shoulder, whispering in your ear. And maybe there's some reason why they're there, and maybe you invited them, and maybe what has to happen is you have to say, please help me, and again make that invitation. Please speak to me, please help me. But one thing you can't do is make them prove things. You can't go, I'd like to invite you to dinner, but first I need you to slaughter a pig in the front yard. So you don't make them work that hard. You just invite them. You just say, please come to my experience of living. I welcome you. I invite you in. And I am ready whatever and whenever you are ready to talk to me, I am ready to hear you. And then you listen. Then you listen.
That's the big part of this equation. So many people are saying, speak to me, guidance, whether they're talking to God or, angels or whatever. And they ask a lot of questions, but they don't listen.
Well, or they expect the guidance to be well, first, number one, whereas guidance can sometimes be just this whisper, or it can be a sign. It can be something you see in a room, or the first thing that your eyes light upon can be your answer. And
Absolutely.
The unseen world does not have the same rules that we do.
Yeah.
And they don't really care very much about our rules. And they're here to help. They're committed to that, but they're not necessarily here to relate to you like a human being who's sitting in the room next to you, touching your hand. They're not relating like that. They're relating in their own way. So angels, when they speak to you with tremendous energy, and there's a descent of truth that kind of comes over you, and a kind of warmth and an understanding. And you can move to not knowing to knowing very quickly if you allow an angelic inspiration. But you can't say then, the angel's inside of me and I own that angel, and don't you try to help anybody else, angel. You can't give it rules. You have to literally allow what comes to you to come to you. You can't pretend that you're making it up. That's this weird human game.
I know, that's the matrix. We've been told that imagination is fantasy, it's not true, it's not reality, and yet most imagination is guidance. I don't know, what did Einstein say? Logic will take you so far, imagination will take you anywhere, everywhere. It's like, where do you want to go?
I always say, who told you imagination isn't real?
Exactly.
Who told you that?
Exactly.
They're wrong.
Exactly. Oh, getting an itchy head. They're tapping me on the head. But you say about the rules. Sometimes we do. I had a client say the other day that, I wanted some proof. I said, touch me on the face with a feather. And then she had a sensation like that. So she got her proof, we are, us humans, we want this visceral, physical, 5 sensory proof. We don't want to use our psychic sensory. We want to use our, we want to feel it with our skin, or see it with our eyes, or hear it with our ears. And most of the time, spirit doesn't talk to us like that. But we can have, like you have, that ability to see through your outside eyes, as Jamie Butler called it.
It happened.
That's an extraordinary experience. I know, because I've asked, I want to see spirit with my outside eyes. And my guide said to me, no, you don't. And I said, why? Yes, I do. And they said, no, you don't. They said, you know how confusing it is when you're seeing spirit as real as people? And I thought, oh, yeah, that would be really confusing.
It's actually crazy making.
Crazy making.
It can make you feel like you're losing your mind.
Right.
And, it's very difficult to be able to sort, what is material reality and what is spiritual reality, or what is non-material, non-local reality. Like, how am I seeing and when am I seeing? And that took me about 6 or 7 years to really kind of figure out. It was
How old were you when you were
well, I started seeing like this when I was 14.
Right.
So I had a car accident. I had the ability to see auras before then. I saw little pale, soft, little fairy-like lights around people, and it was very non-intimidating and sweet. Right. And then I fell out of a car and was knocked unconscious, whacked my head right here. And when I opened my eyes, I saw in vibrant day glow, rock and roll, full on. And I almost couldn't see people's faces because of all the energy layers in front of them. And so it took me a long time to be able to see through the energy and kind of peel it aside and be able to look at what I actually was seeing. And I learned very quickly that I could ask the energy to do what I wanted. In other words, show me this or don't show me that. and then it would respond. And I also used ajna, which is inner sight. So I would close my eyes and I would see on the inner, and then I would open my eyes and I would concentrate on what I'd been seeing in the inner, and then the other parts would recede and I would see that, which is how I map the sacred anatomy, which is why I have 88 color illustrations in my book, outlining and drawing what it is that I see. And I've heard from hundreds of people all over the globe saying, oh my God, I see the same thing.
Wow.
So it's pretty exciting for me, to have that reaction.
I'm not alone. I'm not the only
not alone on the planet.
But when I hear this story, Desda, I think about people who've had NDEs that talk about that. They experience like nature. They see the vibrant, subtle energy around all the trees, and like either in the other realms or then when they come back into this realm. But they talk about the vibrancy of the color and then the colors that we just don't experience here. I wonder if the cones and rods in your eyes see the color beyond most of our ability to see color. I wonder.
I've had the thought, and of course I have no real proof of this, but I have the thought that I see other dimensionally, so that I see 3-dimensionally like you do and like everybody else does, and that I also see another 3 dimensions, which is in this other realm.
Yeah.
And because I see so much, it seems to me that might actually be so, that I see in 6 or 8 dimensions.
Right, through your outside eyes. So when you're looking at somebody, what interferes the most? Is it the brightness or their dimness? Like, is it the thought forms, the negative crap they're carrying around, or is it their brightness that sort of, from your perspective, when you're looking at somebody?
It's never the brightness, I mean, I'm always looking to find the brightness. Like,
right.
Can we get in there? Oh, there it is. So it's usually people's stuff, and so that's why I've defined it as the need for clearing. So we clear all 7 systems. So instead of just doing an energy clearing, it's like a specific clearing of a specific system. So we clear the systems, and then there's alignments. So we've got like these, you can have things like falling over, and pieces of the anatomy kind of mushing together and collapsing and, herniating, or we're kind of receding. So we do alignments, and then I help sort of straighten people out. And then there's pathology, and pathology is sometimes really dark, and it's sometimes like dark blue or dark brown or dark green, or, sometimes there's emotional contents. Like, for example, in the electromagnetic field, there can be signatures of, anger and fear and frustration and lust. And, these like big sort of signatures kind of take up residence. And then they kind of are like glompy balls that morph and change. And they do become diluted as a person kind of works it out. But I found I can lift those out, just get rid of them, and people feel better right away. So I've learned what I can interact with, what I can't interact with, what I have to adjust as opposed to dismiss, and what can actually be removed or relieved. And, it's taken me years and years and years. And I have, like I said, over 500 procedures that I've figured out of like how to work with the structure, everything from karmic astral vibrations that are holding on to sort of demonic frequencies, all the way to clearing the bones of light that just sort of does housekeeping. Right. So it's, there's a large variety of things that you can see and not see. But the light is always in there. It's always in there somewhere.
Yeah, like the sun is behind the clouds. You just got to clear the clouds. But let me ask you, when you do that exercise that you did with us, inviting presence in, so what do you see? So say someone's standing before you dripping with their pain, and then you do that exercise. What are you seeing? Like, what are you seeing happening to them when they're inviting that presence in?
Well, as they're doing it, they bring the golden light into their head. I just see the whole head becoming golden. And, you know, sometimes it's just a little area, that's all they can do.
Right.
But as they get better and better at it, it just fills everything, and their whole head starts to radiate and sort of pulse. And then when I have them into the throat, and then sometimes what'll happen is like darkness will lift, or and think of it this way, it's like you have a cylinder, and that cylinder is the body, the physical body. And then that cylinder is surrounded by layers and layers and layers of information.
Yes.
So the layers, there's 8 layers, and that's only one system.
Yeah.
So you have to imagine like just how much there is, and how the different systems actually become impacted by difficulty. And so when I'm looking at someone, I can see if their issue is primarily neurological, or if it has to do with the energetic nervous system. I can see if it's a cardiovascular issue, it has to do with the blended energy system, or if it has to do with like their organs, or, you know, so I'm using these terms, organs, cardiovascular, nervous, to refer to sacred anatomy parts.
Right.
So that it's easier for us to understand. But what I see when people do returning presence is I see the cylinder of light begin to pulse and vibrate and live. And then as they move out, it radiates out, and it literally pushes out from the interior the ascended consciousness of who they truly are. They're masterful, really divine awareness, and that's who people truly are. People really are divine, and as they begin to radiate that and become fully present, even if it's just for a moment, they have the memory now of being present for that moment, and being able to embrace, if you would, their possibilities, their potential, what they can be.
Embrace their infinite potential, infinite possibility. Okay, so you said that when you watch the Dalai Lama, sometimes that shining ball is embodied in his pelvis, and sometimes when he's like, you know, fussing around, it's out. So it's coming in and out of us. Like, it's not always, you don't invite it in and there it sits forever and ever. You have to keep inviting it in, right? You have to keep inviting. Pardon? Sorry,
I said it goes in and out.
It goes in and out, but you have to keep inviting it, right? So maybe when you're feeling bad, so when you're hitting sadness, depression, whatever you're hitting, when you're believing your stressful thoughts, that would be the time where you would invite it back in, right?
Well, I urge people to do this exercise once or twice a day. You know,
okay.
You wake up and, you know, just really become present,
okay,
and then live from that point of view. And what happens is that people are able to stay present longer and longer and longer. And,
right,
you know, and most of the time I'm in my body. I'm present in my body almost all the time now.
Okay, so do it once or twice a day, like brushing your teeth.
Right on.
Okay, I got it. When people do invite that in, who have never invited it in before, does it amplify their, you know, the resistance to it, the stressful thought, or the impacted thought from the past life or the ancestry, or, you know, the traumatic childhood? Like, does sadness arise? Does anger arise as they invite the light in? Does it amplify it?
One thing I tell people is, if you have, like, for example, most people are walking around with some form of pain in their body.
Pain, yeah.
So as they're bringing the presence in, I say, look for the pain in your body. Is it in your shoulder? Is it in your hips? Wherever it is, become as present with the pain as you possibly can.
Right.
To literally sit in the presence with the pain. And one of the things that happens is that it lessens pain.
Yeah.
So it's our desire to not feel something that can cause it to be even harsher than it needs to be.
Right. Yeah, I find that, you know, if I've got pain in my body from too much screen time, bad posture, whatever, or maybe past life, whatever, or trauma, you know, like my neck pain, when I meditate, it just gets louder. Like when I speak to my essence and talk to God or talk to my higher self, and, and just feel love, feel that loving presence within me, I find that my pain gets louder. And then when I sit with it like you do, because I go to a meditation here in Sydney, it's a very powerful meditation where we gather on a Friday night, and that's when I feel this the strongest, when I'm in this group meditation. And then the pain starts almost screaming, and I just stay with it, and then it starts to just disappear. It just melts away.
Right. So as you become more and more present with the pain,
yeah,
like literally accepting it for just the
loving it,
is, just like, it's okay, just go ahead, radiate your information to me. I am receiving you completely. I hear you. I feel you. I know you.
Right.
I know you. I'm not separate from you. We are one together. And as you incorporate and become friends with your pain, it's a way of becoming friends with your shadow aspect.
Yeah.
You know, that which is nasty, dirty, and stinky about everybody. You know, and if you can make friends with that funky part of yourself and just allow it to be, it's less painful. Life is less painful.
Yeah. What you resist persists, right? So don't resist it, don't cover it up, don't push it down, don't try and hide it. Be with me. I'm communicating something to you. So love me. I'm talking to you. My body's talking.
Right. Very good. True.
Oh, darling one, we've been yakking for about an hour. Oh, you have so much to teach, Desda Zuckerman. You so do. I said this to you last year or the year before. I'd love to get you down under. One day it'll happen. You know, it's the desires out there in the field. It'll happen. Yeah. It's just the logistics of making it happen. You know, us humans, we've got to travel by plane and pay money and eat and be put up in hotels and hire rooms. And it's easier online. Okay.
It's way easier online. So come see me online at the Shift Network. You can also go to my website and enroll in all those classes, and we're just beginning to offer.
Well, hang on. Before, I've got the affiliate link. So if people want to support the show and to support me, if you sign up under my affiliate link, I'll actually get a little bit of money, which is kind of
there.
Cool.
You go. Take care of your girl.
Take care of your girl. I'm really not good with affiliate links, I have to say. People have given me affiliate links for years, and at this point, I'll change this story though, Desda. I haven't yet made money out of it, because usually people just Google or they look at the website under the YouTube and they just go and they sort of bypass the affiliate link. But I do have an affiliate link which I will put under the YouTube and under the SoundCloud, and I'll also put it on my website. Well, I always put all the shows on a page on my website. So if you go to my website, you can see, and that has the audio and it's got Desda's story, and you can buy her book there from the Amazon affiliate link. You sent me the book, and it's absolutely such a beautiful book. But because I don't work as an energy healer anymore, I lent it to a friend who does this, and so she's got it tucked up in her house on the Northern Beaches. She's got it in her healing room.
Wow!
She loved it. I think she might have been one of the people that contacted you to do your online courses. Yeah.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
It's fun. I've been having these people let me know, like, hi, I'm finally taking your class. I've read your book 4 times.
Yeah.
4 times? I don't know if I could read it 4 times.
So just talking about the online courses, when people sign up, I don't know what the time zones are for people here in Australia, if Australians are listening, but as I say, mostly Americans are listening to my show, so the time zones sort of work for you guys. Sometimes when courses happen in the States, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning for us, and which is not always a good time to get up to do a course. And I never, or listen to a live, podcast or whatever. How long are they? Like each session, like an hour, 2 hours? How long are the online?
They're 90 minutes and they're recorded, so you can listen at your leisure whenever it works for you. It's broadcast at 12 noon Pacific. So I have no idea what time that would be in New Zealand or Australia.
Well, what time is it over there? Oh, I just looked at the clock. It's 11:11. There you go. Alignment. What time is it over there for you at the moment?
5:11.
So it would be very early in the morning. It would be like, 2:00 in the morning, 3 or 4:00 in the morning. Yeah, it would be not a time for Australian.
No.
Yeah.
So what you'd want to do is you'd want to watch online and see the 90-minute class. And then if you had questions, there's a really active Facebook page you can participate in.
Yeah.
So you can come to the Facebook page and you can ask a live question. Like I know there's a gal from Japan who's doing that. And she's involved in the class because she's having to listen later on after
Right.
so she can ask questions that way. And I am looking at the Facebook page and responding to people.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, the beauty of live sessions is you've got those people next to you to talk to, either online or in person. But when you're reading back, you haven't got that interaction. I suppose you've got the Facebook page. But do people do them in groups maybe and talk to each other about it?
Well, we're just going to start this coming week. There's a thing, they have like a little breakout group at the end of the class. When the class is all over, there's a breakout group that's happening, and that's again happening on Zoom. So it's live, and people are participating in that.
Beautiful. And when you're teaching, are you alone in a room, or have you got students with you as well?
No, I bring a little crew with me, and we space clear the room. We set pillars of light in the space. We try to lift the frequency and, release the chaos of the day. And they're really wonderful. My little team. I bring Tamar and Cheryl, and my husband Bob comes with me, my friend Lauren. And then the people at Shift are really awesome. They're really sweet, and they hold a really high frequency. So it's actually wonderful. It's working out great.
So do you do them in your house? Sorry, I'm just asking logistical questions. Do you do them in your house, or do you have to go to some Shift facility, or can you just
I actually go to the Shift facility because it's just about 30 minutes from my house.
Right.
But, I'm here at my house right now doing this, which is perfectly wonderful. But that way they can do kind of more professional filming of me, so that I can step back and do exercises, because I like moving around, I'm not a stationary type for a teacher. So they set it up for me there, and they have wonderful professional equipment, and that's super nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm just thinking if, for other teachers that want to get involved in Shift, they have to be, what city are you in again? You've told me.
Well, I'm in a town called Novato, which is in Marin County, north of the San Francisco Bay
Area.
And they're in Petaluma, which is a little further up into Sonoma. And so, we're in the wine country, lovely restaurants here, and pretty good weather. And it's where we do it, is at their place. Now, when they have teachers from out of town, usually it's on Skype or on Zoom like this.
Right, and they just do it. They just teach from their place, right? Okay.
Because well, how the heck else are we going to do it? So
absolutely. Yeah, I'm just thinking, I just love Michael Tamura and his work. I'd love to see him on the Shift Network. But, me, I speak to so many amazing people across the globe and have done for many years. And, my desire is just to expand this conversation, expand the work. It's just the expansion. I think that somebody said to me that Marianne Williamson's running for president over there, and she said that the voice for love needs to be louder than the voice for hate. And I'm like, yes! So that's what we're on about here. We're expanding the voice for love, which we're doing this weekend at Love Fest. Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Thank you so much,
Desda. Thank you for having me, beautiful Karen, with all your great energy and your positive vibes. I really enjoyed myself. Oh, you're a lovely, lovely being. God bless you, honey.
Oh, ditto, honey. You are an extraordinary, extraordinary being. I was just thinking about how you perceive subtle energy through your eyes. I was just thinking there's another woman I've seen online who does the same thing. And I was thinking as you were talking, but we've got Desda. She's doing, and I was thinking, do I have a conversation with her online? I'm like, I don't need to. I've got you. You do this. Like it's extraordinary. I look forward to having another conversation with you again some other time.
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. Expanding the love.
Absolutely. Take care, Karen, and thank you so much.
The wonderful, magnetic, ecstatic, blissful Desda Zuckerman. Isn't she fabulous? She really is just such an extraordinary woman, and so casual about it. She sort of jokes, but I really saw her more profoundly this time than I did last time. I've read her book and I've had her on the show, but just delving more deeply into her abilities of perception and what she sees, what she can see. Extraordinary, isn't it? Extraordinary. But like I always say, like Jesus said, we can all do this. There's just not one better than the other. We can all learn to do this. I've had many psychics on the show. In fact, I started the radio with a friend of mine who's a psychic, and I interviewed her and said, why did you become a psychic? And she said, well, I was just fascinated. So I didn't think I could do it. So I learned how to do it. She became very proficient and spent her lifetime as a professional psychic, doing readings and seeing things. So anyone can learn to develop these abilities if you want to. If you want to perceive the world like Desda does. But as my guide said to me, during conversation, I said this one. I said, I would like to see what these people see through my physical eyes, my outside eyes. And my guide said, no, you won't. It's too confusing. If you really want it, we can activate that, or you can activate that. But, do you really want to perceive life like that? And as Desda says, it can be very confusing. It took her a long time to sort out what's real, what's not, what's physical manifestation, what's subtle manifestation, when you're perceiving through your outside eyes, and better to perceive through your inner eye than you know that you can sort it out what you're being given. Like my guides often give me a very clear image in my inner eye. I don't have to sort of wade through the reality of the outside, so I get it inwardly. It's all fascinating. It's also fascinating, don't you think? Anyway, if you want to do her courses, I want to do her courses. I'd love you to do them on my affiliate link. I'll put the link on my webpage and underneath this, so that, I get a bit of a kickback. That's how the Shift Network works. If you promote their courses, you get a bit of an affiliate link. And I only promote people who I believe in, who I believe are amazing. I don't do this to make money. I do this because I want to expand this knowledge base, and have you all rocking and rolling and living inside your loving presence and being more present and more deliberate, and how you create and manifest your reality more powerful as a human population. This is what my guide said is the most important thing to know at this time, is how to be more deliberate and conscious of what we're doing, how we're flowing our energy, what we're doing with our power of focus, our mental power, our power of belief. It's important stuff. So thanks again for watching another show. I just asked Desda to come into the Inner Sanctum. She's going to, come in and speak to our little tribe and give us some exercises. So it's a lot cheaper than her courses. We're only 25 Australian dollars a month at the moment. And you get to meet me and speak to me. And also I invite a guest teacher once a month to come in and teach the little tribe and talk to them. You get to ask them questions. I actually don't know how much Desda's courses are, but they sound quite advanced, and so they're going to be more expensive than the Inner Sanctum, but much more intricate and much more focused, and come away with some amazing techniques on how to be more deliberate in maneuvering your physical and energetic structure and living this life. So join us in the Inner Sanctum if you want to meet some of the people. Who have I got coming up? I've got Garnet coming up next month. I've got Rich Martini's going to come in, who I had on the show last year. Frances Reiki is going to come back, who has the teen books. I think her books are incredible. She's coming back towards the end of the year. I popped Courtney in, I talk about Courtney all the time. I just love her, who channels Krishna, who I had on the show. She's coming in towards the end of the year to do some channeling for us, and you get to meet her. Anyway, it's all on the website, karenswain.com/innersanctum. You'll see it there that I've got all the teachers that are in for this year. So check it out and sign up. And remember to buy the book, Awakened by Death. We're working on the second one, Awakenings, personal stories of transcendence and transformation. And I'll see you all soon next time. Bye for now. Love you all.